So, good afternoon, traders, and today is the 8th of April 2022. It is just coming up to 2:30 p.m. here in the UK. So just a quick check here just to make sure that everything's working. The sound is working, the video is working as well, and yeah, I think we're live. Good. So let's crack on. So looking here at let's have a look at the cryptocurrency heat map first. You can see here that Bitcoin is down 1% for the day. The great majority of crypto is down and in the red, with a very few exceptions. You know, Avalanche here and AMP, but Near is just at 24% up. So you know, it's pumping Near for some reason. I'm not sure why, but either way, you can see that the great majority of the crypto world is in the red. As for the traditional finance world, you can see that the great majority of it is in green. There's a little bit of a relief bounce after what happened a couple of days ago. And if you're not aware, if you've been living under a rock, well, basically what happened a couple of days ago is that the Federal Reserve came out a little bit aggressive on how they're going to tackle the inflation problem, and of course, and that had an effect on the markets. Some are arguing that it's not aggressive enough. Others are arguing that it's too aggressive too soon, especially because of the situation with Ukraine and the price of fuel and everything else going on, and then the production prices and everything. So it's just basically like a little bit bearish, and you could see that already being priced in on the 5th, so on the day before the CPI print, or before the minutes of the Federal Reserve, the FOMC. They were pricing in the fear, and now we're kind of like seeing a little bit of a relief. So let's have a look at the charts and just see how that translates. So what you've got here, I'm looking at the S&P on the S&P Mini, which is ES1 exclamation mark. That's the chart if you guys want to track this. And so essentially what we're seeing is the ES is the blue line here, and I've just got a line chart here, and then for comparison I've got Bitcoin here in orange, obviously, and you can see that the market is very, very correlated, and you can see that except, you know, Bitcoin is a little bit more volatile, and you can see some of these moves that are a little bit more exaggerated, but all in all, here on the 4-hour chart, it's very visible that it's very much sort of in tandem with the ES Mini, right? So this is why I am kind of like starting to do a little bit of analysis, or starting this analysis anyway, by looking at the S&P and the traditional markets, just because we know that it's got a tremendous influence now that we see some institutional investment in Bitcoin, that obviously with Bitcoin being a risk asset, then it kind of trades in tandem with, well, especially with the S&P. The S&P is just really just like Bitcoin is just a delta version of the S&P, if you like. So it's natural that we see this correlation. So you can see the S&P is going down now. We've kind of tested the highs, came back and tested it again, and we got sort of like stopped just before the previous highs, and now we're on our way down. So let's have a look at the charts for the S&P with, you know, not the line charts, but with the VWAP and everything else, just to see if we can make any sense of this. Now, what was very clear is that we kind of like hovered here around the 2021 VWAP. We kind of rallied from there. We confirmed above the 2022 VWAP, which is this squiggly line. The rectangle that you see here is basically the 2021 close. Okay, so this is the -1 standard deviation. This is the +1 standard deviation, or the value area high, if you like. And once we rallied above that, we came and tested the 2022 standard deviation, which is around about here. Okay, and we tested that, and we got rejected above. We came back below, we tested the first standard deviation, the +1, the value area high of 2022, if you like, right here, and we got rejected there as well. So if you could notice that that was on the 5th of April, so it has confluence with the news coming out of the CPI print, or whatever, of the it was not the consumer price index, I keep calling it the CPI print, but it's actually the FOMC meeting minutes That's why I keep getting confused. But anyway, so you can see that it got rejected there, and then it came down, and naturally where it comes down to and where it bounces on the 2022 VWAP, right? So we bounced there, we come and tested the 2021 value area high, and now we didn't even quite get there, and now it looks like we're on our way down. So this here remains a key area, so around about 4,445, and if we can hold that, then I think we've got a strong chance of doing something like this, and then perhaps testing the highs again and just seeing if we can get an acceptance up there. However, if that does not happen, and if we lose this level here, then I think we're going to go and try and find support round about the -1 standard deviation, or the value area low for 2022, and potentially the VWAP close of 2021 round about here, $4,250. Okay, so that's the S&P, and that's, so you can see basically from this outlook that it's not looking tremendously bullish, right? It's looking quite bearish, and it's no surprise really with news of high inflation, aggressive quantitative tightening by the Federal Reserve in the United States, war in Europe, a rise in prices for fuel and food, and the food production being down as well, with some of the major producers being out of production. So it's not a surprise really that we see a little bit of a bearish sort of momentum here. But so anyway, that's what we're seeing here on the S&P. And again, this is the key level that we want to watch there. It's around about 4,445. Okay, if it goes below that level, then we know that we've lost the 2022 VWAP, and of course it's going to test these lower levels, namely this one and this one, to see if we can find a bounce. All right, so that's on the ES mini. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. Start here on the daily chart as well. And you can see that we're doing exactly the same thing. We got acceptance below. This is the 2021 VWAP close. Okay, we took ages to get above this, right? So when I was talking about the bulls had plenty of momentum on their side, they did indeed. We broke above previous resistance. I mean, this was a huge range, and we tested the 2021 VWAP here 1, 2, 3 times there, right? And we got rejected every single time. And I did say that if we go and test it again, we could probably break above it, and that's exactly what we did. And then we held it as support. We even tested the previous value area high of the 2022 VWAP, and we got back above it. So I thought, okay, well, momentum is definitely on the bull side. But as soon as we lose that 2021 VWAP here at round about 45,500, and I want you to remember that number, as soon as we lost that, then we came much lower. Okay, so it does look like for now we are range bound again. So we're back inside of this huge range that we've been trading on, right? So anyway, just to summarize, we are below this level here, which is around about 44,300, which is the 2022 VWAP value area high, right? So this is also a level of resistance. Okay, at the moment it looks like we're reaching down. So where's the natural level that we'd be looking for a bounce? Well, I would say around about $41,000. $41,000 is a 2022 VWAP here. You can see that there was a little bit of support there, so we broke above that resistance there. Once we broke above it, we confirmed that as support, and we rallied from there, and that has perfect confluence with that level, so around about $41,000. But also we've got a low volume area here around about 40,000. okay, so even if the price comes all the way down here and we start kind of like ranging here, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little push down and then a rally up. Okay, but just to summarize, basically this is a big area here of balance, all right, and this here is resistance, this here is support. It's as simple as that. $40,000 is support, $45,000 is resistance. Okay, just to simplify things. So let's be a little bit more technical, and let's just make a little bit better sort of a better analysis, if you like. So I'm going to put the range here, and I'm going to take the flow trading VWAP off so that you guys can get a better picture of what's going on here, the deviations there. So you can see this was deviation to the downside, came to the upside, we deviated to the upside, came back down again, went back up, deviated, and then we got stopped here on the halfway point, so the equilibrium, if you like, and now we're kind of back inside of this range, right? So if we're back inside of the range, naturally where would we be the balance area? Well, the balance area is clearly here, which is a big volume cluster here. So what I would do is I would put this balance area here, which is basically the blue area, and we've tried to get above this one here on the green. We couldn't get, we got rejected there. So essentially we're back inside of this blue area, and if it is to come down, where will it come down to? Around about $40,000, okay? $41,000 is still a possibility with that VWAP, but nevertheless, when we enter a balance area, we're likely to firm up balance by touching both sides, and that's exactly what's happening here. The only thing that can change that, the only thing that can disrupt the balance is indeed the high volume node within that balance area, okay? So we're approaching that, and that is exactly at around about $42,000, okay? So 40,500 is a level that I asked you to keep in mind. That's the resistance level here, okay? That's that imbalance, okay? So this is resistance. In fact, I'm going to do this with knots and crosses. That would be a little bit easier, okay? So resistance as a cross, okay? Now support could indeed be this high volume cluster here, around about $42,000, okay? Has perfect confluence with this order block here, all right? But essentially we are on our way to $40,000, okay? So this level here should be support. This can disrupt it, and looking by the VWAPs is a little bit lower, so you know, who knows, maybe that can disrupt it, maybe this one can disrupt it. If you're in a short, and if you enter a short position here at the highs, on the back of my TA from last week, or from the TA from some of the guys in the group, then I think the time to take profit is around about here, 41,800, so $42,000, and potentially 41,000. Okay, so this is time to take profit here, but we could continue lower. Okay, at this level here, down here, around about $40,000, I'll be looking for longs. At this level here, I'll be looking for shorts, around about 45,000. Okay, in this middle area here, I'm not interested. I'm interested to fade the extreme. I'm interested to look at the extremes of the range, or extremes of the balance area, if you like, and short that, or fade that, if you like. Okay, so that's basically what I'm saying. If I was to change that, let's take the balancing area off. Let's change the range deviations, and instead of having the range EQ like that, I will have a parallel channel. Okay, now you can see that the parallel channel here got tapped quite a few times. Let me take the VWAP off. Okay, we broke above it. We got rejected at first, but now we got acceptance inside. Okay, so even if the price comes all the way up here, right, to the higher the range, look at that, that's perfect confluence with this low volume area, right? So even if it comes all the way up here to squeeze some of the late shorts, which is possible, right, I'm still looking for shorts in this area now. The reason for that is because we tried to get above, we got rejected, and we're back inside the range, right? Up here, I'm still looking for longs above this range because we hadn't gone inside. But now that we found acceptance inside, that's an area for shorts. It's as simple as that, okay? So 45,000, 45,500, something like that, is indeed an area for me that I'm looking for shorts. That's the 2021 VWAP, if you remember, from the VWAP close of 2021 here, as you can see there. So without wanting to complicate it too much, this is an area for shorts, and this here is an area for longs. And look at that, it has perfect confluence with the halfway mark of this trading range here. Okay, so this has got 3 taps down to the downside. It's got 3 or 4 taps here to the upside. So on the top of the range, 3 taps on the down of the range. That's definitely a confirmed range. You can see here that it struggled halfway point, so you know that it's definitely a good range, and that it makes sense because we found resistance at the equilibrium, and the equilibrium now has perfect confluence with that 40k, 39,600, something like that area. So it is quite possible that we're coming to come all the way down here. This level here, I'll be looking for longs. Okay, break below that and confirm that as resistance, meaning that we form a little range here, right? We reach for the highs and then fall back inside. That's another short yet again, and I'll be targeting these levels down here. But we're too far away from that just yet to be looking at that. So for now, all I'm saying is that this level here should be where you're buying, and this level here should be where you're selling. Okay? So let's try and make sense of that on the split charts here. So Let me just put the VWAPs here, take this off. So you can see here, right? So this is the 2022 VWAP here. It's running about 41,600. It kind of doesn't, I mean, it doesn't have any confluence with any of these other charts here on the screen, right? So basically what I've got here is on the top left, I've got the daily chart with the yearly VWAP. On the top right, I've got the quarterly VWAP with a 12-hour chart. On the bottom right, I've got the 4-hour chart with a monthly VWAP. And on the bottom left, I've got the weekly chart with the 1-hour chart. So, if we are to look at downside potential levels, like I said, I don't want to complicate it too much, but you can see here that the value area low of the first week of April, I'm looking at the bottom left here, okay? You can see that we've got a little area here of interest, which is basically the value area low and the value area high of the previous week, okay? That's around about $41,500, $42,000, okay? If we look at this level here on the other charts and you look at where my crosshairs are, you can see that it's just where that low volume area is here, right? Where this low volume area here is, and very close to the yearly VWAP. So that's an important level as far as I'm concerned. Of course, it also has at the bottom right here, you can see it has confluence around about $42,000 with the previous month VWAP close. Okay, so I'm gonna open that up. You can see, and what I'm talking about is this level here. Okay, so that's around about $42,000. Why is that level important? Well, you can see that this was previous resistance, came down, we tested the monthly VWAP, we broke above it, and then we confirmed that as support. When it came to the close of the March month, this is the March VWAP, right? So this whole section here, in the squiggly line, not the rectangle, the squiggly line here is the March VWAP, and you can see here that we got the value area high, the value area low, and the VWAP for March. And of course, that's very close to where we are right now. Okay, so here I wouldn't be surprised to see that we're ranging here now, that we would come and take this level out, fall back inside of the range. If it falls back inside of the range, that's a long, and I think that the next level of resistance would be round about, the $45,000 level, round about here. Okay, so that's resistance until proven otherwise. All right, and this should be support until proven otherwise here on the monthly chart. So around about $42,000. So for the immediate sort of like, intraday charts or whatever. But I don't want to complicate this too much. I'm trying to give you sort of like an idea of where we could be heading in the next few days or over the weekend. But overall, like I said, 40,000 is support, 45,000 is resistance. It's very simple. It's a $5,000 range. Okay, I'm just giving you ideas of what could happen in the meantime. All right, so like I said, this here should be resistance, this here should be support. We break below that, and I think it's very possible that we come all the way back down to 39,000 or potentially even 40,300, which is where this monthly VWAP had closed. Okay, so so let's just remove some of these scribbles. So I hope everybody is clear on that. So, at the moment, I think it's best if I look at this. Let's have a look at the quarterly as well. So you can see here, okay, this level here is the first standard deviation of the quarterly of this quarter's VWAP, right? Which also happens to be the value area high, or the +1 standard deviation of the previous quarter, right, which is from January till 1st of April. Okay, so this is resistance. That's around about 44,000 or 45,000, something like that, right? Well, this is 44,000. 45,000 is way up here, and that's also resistance. But 44,000 should really be your first level of resistance. And you can see here already, in fact, that the price went up there, found resistance, and it's on its way down. Okay, so if it goes any further down, where do we look at? $40,800, $41,000, which is that level I was talking about, and potentially a little bit lower. So it could do something like this, start ranging around about here, go a little bit lower, fish out all the stops, and then get acceptance above. If it gets acceptance above, then I think we're going off to this level here. All right, If it doesn't find acceptance above, and if it comes all the way down here like this, that's a really crap drawing. If it comes all the way down here, it starts forming a range down here, and finds acceptance below this low volume area at $40,000, then I think we've got a very strong possibility to come and visit these lows here. 35, well, I'm looking at $37,000 at first, but 35,000 is potentially where I'm looking at on the bigger range. Okay, so again, let's look at the 12-month here. Right, so I'm looking at 37,000 here, and then potentially this level down here around about $35,000, $36,000. Okay, so that's if we lose this level here, or this low volume area. Okay, so again, just to summarize, I don't want to be overcomplicating it too much. I'm looking at lower time frames and I'm looking at higher time frames, but just to simplify, on the higher time frame, looking at balance, it's very simple. Okay, this level here you're selling around about $45,000, and this level here you're buying around about $41,000, $40,000, something like that. Okay, so that's essentially what we're looking. If we find acceptance below here and we confirm that this is indeed now resistance, then we're going to go much lower. If we find acceptance above the 2021 VWAP, which is around about $46,000, just to be on the safe side, so let's say that the price, this was just a little bear trap, and we find ourselves up here again, confirm that this is indeed support, well, then in that case we're on our way to $53,000. Okay, it's that simple. So I hope that is clear for you guys. I'm going to have a look at the comments here on YouTube before I move on to Exocharts. Near price rise might have been something to do with the rumors over the last 24 hours that they're spreading. The Near protocol is set to launch a stablecoin. Oh, okay, yeah, thanks, Jay. So that's the reason why Near protocol is pumping at 25% when everything else is dumping. Something to do with fundamentals, with news, and that they might be launching a stablecoin. So anyway, let's move on to Exocharts. Thanks for that, Jay. We start here with the volume profile on the daily, and you can see that I had put a VWAP anchored to the swing low, and of course we tested that, and now we've gotten below it. As we've gotten below it, we pumped, we tried to get above that, and we couldn't really get above it. Now we're coming down. Okay, so we've got a naked point of control exactly around about $42,000, which is that same level that I was talking about on the candlesticks. So $42,000 has a possibility of being a bounce area. Okay, extremely close to this high volume cluster, right, or high volume node within the volume cluster, if you like. Okay, so there's a possibility that this here is a disruption, and it stops us from going all the way down there. So on the moment we're on the way to this here, 40,000, but there's a possibility that this can disrupt us and make us go up. So you'll have to take profits here and have a look if the price bounces. Okay. The other naked point of control is around about $46,000. All right, that's a little bit far-fetched. It's a little bit too high up, especially as it is above this low volume area here at 45,000. I do think that 45,000, 45,500, which is basically where that 2021 VWAP is the line in the sand. But of course, you know, Bitcoin has a habit of doing little surprising things, and we could potentially see something like that, take that end pocket and then just come back down again. Okay, which means taking that naked point of control there. So that could potentially happen. So you do have to keep that in mind. There's a volume point of control that is naked right about $46,000. Okay, so 42,000, 46,000 if you want to be looking just at volume. Okay, 42 for a bounce, 46 to sell. Okay, however, again, and I can't stress this enough, 40,000, 40,500 is where we're heading to. Okay, so that's the volume profile. Let's have a look at the market profile and see on a time-based chart if this has a little bit more, if it's a little bit more forgiving. Well, we do have a naked point of control here at 42,200, on which is a little bit higher on the time-based chart on the TPL. So 42,200 is where the naked point of control is, and then we've also got a naked point of control at around about 45,200. So in my opinion, this is a little bit more sensible on the areas of balance. Okay, we So I'll explain balance as well here. Okay, so we had a 2-day composite volume, a composite profile here. And once we've fallen out of the balance, then we got confirmed that that was indeed resistance, and we fell back down onto the next balance. We've been ranging here for quite some time, and now we've got pushed back down again away from that balance. So the next area of balance is here between $43,000 and $42,000. Okay, so it depends if we find a little bit of support here. Of course, it is possible that the price now finds a little bit of so just bear with me a second. So that the price finds a little bit of support here, and we take out this naked point of control. We start ranging here. Okay, and if we form a range here, something along the lines like this, right, then what's going to happen is this is engineering liquidity, right, especially over the weekend when there's low volatility and low volume, low liquidity in the markets. What's going to happen is that most of the people that think that this is going to go down are going to put their stops above here, and most of the people that think this is going to go up are going to have their stops here. So what does the price like to do? It likes to run all the stops. So then we'll have to see if this is the range, what the market is going to do. Are we going to go and reach higher and fall back inside the range again? If we do that, then this is an entry for a short, and we're going to go lower. Okay, if however we reach lower like this and then fall back inside of the range, well, that's a signal for a long, and that means we're going to squeeze, and we're going to perhaps take this naked point of control here around about 45,200. Okay, that's potentially what I'm seeing if we can find acceptance above $44,000. That is okay. This level here, I mean, this is a balance area as well, right? So this level here could play a little bit of resistance here. So you'll probably have to watch this back because I'm just like playing it by ear. But again, we're in a balance area here. We'll raid the lows and go higher, then we find acceptance above inside of this range here, right? And if we find acceptance here, again, the same case applies. Do we reach for this one here and then fall back inside? Well, that's a signal for a short, right? Or do we deviate to the lows and then rally higher? Right, so we'll have to wait and see, but you have to look at ranges, and when you find a range, then look at where are we deviating to. Okay, is it deviating to the downside? If it deviates to the downside and falls back inside the range, that's a long. If it deviates to the upside and then falls back inside the range, that's a short. Okay, so it really depends. It likes to take the stops, right? So again, if we are to find balance inside of here, once we've taken that naked point of control, you have to wait and see where do we go first. Do we go to the downside like this and then accept back inside of the range? Would I take a long here? No, because this could be a dump and you're catching a falling knife. But as soon as it accepts back inside of the range like this, then for me that's the entry for a long, and I'll be targeting at least the top of the range, potentially the next balance area, okay, which would be somewhere around there. So something like this. Right? Acceptance inside of there means that we go to here. Rejection there means that we come back down again. All right, so that's how we're playing it on the shorter time frames. But like I said, without wanting to complicate it too much, if we take this here and we bounce, then great, we're going to 45k. If, however, we find acceptance below, we swing the highs and then come acceptance below, then we're going to test that 40k level, right? Potentially even 39,500, and we'll see what happens there. Okay, you can see that there's also a naked point of control here at 38,700, but that's way too far to be contemplating that just yet. At the moment, all I'm looking for is exactly what we showed you on the candlestick charts, and that's basically trading this as a range. Okay, this is a balance area here, and this area here is for buying, and this area here is for selling on the higher time frames. Okay, if you're scalping, it's a different story, and obviously, as you can see, it becomes a little bit more complicated. But yeah, we're just basically seeking balance now and looking for buyers. So that is it on Bitcoin. I don't want to be sort of like, I know this is going to be a long one today because it's the last one for a few days, but you know, I hope that is clear what I'm trying to say to you guys, all right? So at this level, we're buying. At this level, we're selling, all right, on the higher time frames. That's as simple as that. Okay, so let's move on to Ethereum. On Ethereum, it's become clear that obviously that $3,600 level that I had said that is going to be very strong, high probability resistance was indeed the top. Okay, and we're on our way down. There's a high volume selling candle here. We found acceptance. It pushed us back inside of this inside of this range. So let me just take the rectangles off for a minute of the balance area. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this as balance. Okay, so so that was resistance. Once we've fallen back inside of this range here, you can see this on the 6 hour perhaps a little bit better. Strong candle pushes us back inside of the VWAP standard deviation. Okay, the price comes back inside, comes and tests the highs there, and it gets a rejection, and so now we're on our way down again. So where would I expect to find a bounce? Well, I'm looking at around about this level here, 2,965. Okay, that is basically the 2022 VWAP. And if we look this back on the daily again, you can see that it's basically the next important area of support, and especially if you see how close it is to $3,000. Okay, so this low volume area here is around about $3,000, which is a big round number, and big round numbers tend to act as support and resistance. So yeah, I mean, in fact, here you can see that there's a big ledge here in volume. Let's put the balance areas on again, right? So actually, this area here, which is around about $2,900, $2,860 or whatever, should be the level of support, okay? Even though we've got the 2022 VWAP here at around about 2,959. So $3,000 in this area here could be support, which is basically this ledge here, right? So this could be support, but ultimately if the price comes all the way down here and it starts ranging, what are we likely to do? If we are to go up, well, we raid the lows and then we sweep high and trap everybody, right? So that's usually how it gets played out. So you must keep an eye on this level here, 2,800, 2,900, something like that. And of course resistance, the first interim level of resistance is around about 3,300, which is the first standard deviation of the 2022 VWAP. But ultimately, this level here, which is around about $3,500, $3,600. Okay, so what I see happening right now on Ethereum, well, I expect the price to just come slowly bleeding like this, just like Bitcoin, perhaps form a little range here, raid the lows, and then find acceptance back inside before we go higher. Okay, I think there is a strong argument for Ethereum at the moment because they are testing this merge at the moment. So in terms of fundamental analysis, I don't know much about this, but what I do know is that it doesn't look like it's priced in on Ethereum, and this could potentially change. It could change the whole dynamic in terms of Ethereum pumping and decoupling from Bitcoin. So even if Bitcoin's going down, Ethereum could be pumping anyway. Okay, and you're starting to see that with the low severity of pullback on Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. I think that will be a little bit more visible on the Ethereum BTC chart, which I'll go to in just a second. But essentially what we're seeing is that this is resistance, this is support, and these levels here, which is basically the VWAP standard deviation, could also act as a little bit of, in fact, just even this one here, could act a little bit of resistance and support. So we could just be trading here, inside of here, and then a deviation to the upside, and then just try again or whatever, you know, to the upside like this. All right, so that's essentially what I'm seeing for Ethereum USD. 3,500 as resistance, $3,000 or thereabouts, you know, nearby as support. So 2,883 to be precise, but nothing is precise in crypto, okay? You have to look at this as areas of balance, all right? So you can see here, this is basically where the balance, one balance is finished and the other one starts, right? You can see here, right? So this is the area that we're trading, very much like Bitcoin, inside of the volume area. All right, so if we go all the way down here, we look for a deviation, and we go all the way to the other side. All right, that's basically how it is. So let's have a look at Ethereum BTC. In fact, no, let's have a look at Exocharts first. I'm going to look at the volume profile to see if we find any more clues of what we could potentially be doing. So interestingly enough, I've got the anchored view app here from the swing low, and that's exactly where the price is bounced. We've taken one of the naked points of control, but not the other. The other one is at $3,100, okay? We've also got another one here at around about $3,043, and then there's a big gap all the way to $2,800, okay? So we could potentially see a little bit lower prices, but Ethereum is looking quite strong compared to Bitcoin, so we could potentially go and test this level here. 3,450, we've left a naked point of control, as you can see there. Right, we've left this one up here. So if the price was to do something like this here now, okay, so sorry, that's really crap. Let's try again. So ranging like this, right, between 3,400 and something like that. And then eventually take out this naked point of control at around about $3,460, okay? And then we have to wait and see, okay? Can we get above this low volume area here, which is obviously resistance, right? Or will we just fall back inside of the range? If we fall back inside of this range, then that's an entry for a short, and that means we're going to go much lower, okay? So we'll have to really sort of like observe price action on a sort of a lower time scale, if you like, maybe on the 6 hours, on the 4 hour level. But for now, it looks like we've left a naked point of control at 3,450, but we've also got some here below at around about $3,000. So that was volume profile. Let's have a look at the market profile. I can see a few anomalies here already. Let me reduce the size of this chart. And no, I don't like this. Okay, that's a little bit more granular. Let's have a look at the monthly. Okay, that'll do. So this is the 1 month composite profile, okay? So let's have a look. We've got a naked point of control here at 3,342. This is a time-based chart, not a volume one. And we've got another one at round about $3,500, okay? I'm not too sure that we're actually going to go as far as that, because you can see here we've got a low volume area around about $3,400. We've got that naked point of control. So potentially what we see, even if we see a little rally to the upside, I think potentially what we do see is something like this: test the low volume area, take out that naked point of control, and then fall back inside of the range, right? And if it does that, then I think we're bound to take out potentially all of these naked points of control, which go all the way to $2,950, just below $3,000. Okay, that's what I'm seeing, and that's a great opportunity for a short right here. Okay, so anything above 3,000, near 3,400. But of course, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? We could actually just come all the way up here and then go all the way down. There's no such thing as a free lunch in trading. So, but what I'm seeing here is that this low volume area here, $3,400, is very, very likely to be resistance. If we get acceptance above that, then it's off to the races, but it doesn't look like we will. Okay, so as you can see here, we came below, right? And once we've broken below, it came up higher here, and we're already finding resistance even before we get up there. So let's see how it behaves in the future anyway. Okay, so let me just delete that. Move on to Ethereum BTC. Let's see what is going in store for us. So, okay, interesting. We didn't even come I had a little scribble saying that we perhaps would come and test this level down here, this level of support at 72,000 sats. We didn't do that. In fact, we got front run of this first standard deviation of the VWAP, and we got back above this level. So this level is now support, and it's been largely ignored. So actually, do you know what? I'm going to take that off because it's just rallied through it a couple of times now. So for me, it's no longer relevant. Okay, so excuse me. The more relevant levels are this area here. Okay, first standard deviation of the 2022 VWAP with also a low volume area here. So this should act as support. Indeed, it did already. The next level of resistance should be this level here, 79,300 sats. Okay, or potentially 81,000 sats as well. All right, as you can see here. So finding the price finds itself up here, it's likely to find resistance. This is going to be undoubtedly a high probability trade, excuse me, into a short. Okay, because it's not been tested yet, right? Just like we did at $3,600. Previous support, we broke below it, and then we failed to return. So that's the first time back. If it gets there, this is going to be resistance at first. If, however, we manage to get above it, then we've also got to contend with this level here, around about 81,000 sats. Okay, so 80,000 sats, just generally, this area is going to be resistance. This level here is going to be support. So in the meantime, we will probably just rotate inside of here. I'm only away for a week, so I'm quite keen to see where this is going. But I think that Ethereum's going to come out with a surprise soon regarding this this change of from proof of stake to something else. I think it is. I'm not entirely sure, but it's big news and everybody's talking about it. So the merge will happen soon. So resistance, and that's support until proven otherwise. So again, potentially we could be doing something like this. Come back below it again, find support here, and then just range back above or whatever, right? We'll have to wait and see how Bitcoin behaves. So that's the Ethereum BTC chart. Moving on to FODL. FODL versus USDT on OkEx. So now we're going to start on the DeFi coins. So see another big fat finger there. This is, I don't really understand. I think this is a lack of liquidity on OkEx. But you can see that this basically, on the lower time frames, is probably a pump. So high volume. But it's just immediately sold into. I mean, you can't even... yeah, I mean, this is just a lack of liquidity. I don't really particularly like this chart because of this. You can keep seeing these big wicks to the upside. So if we look at volume, you could see that even though somebody bought at these highs, and they just basically market bought a whole load of it, right? It's just immediately they just cleared the whole book at the upside, and then the price just comes back down because obviously it found sellers. And you can see here the big candle in selling. Okay, so it found resistance at around about 21 cents. Okay, I'm not sure if this is going to be visible on the other chart on FODL versus USDC. So let's have a look at that. And of course, no, there is no slippage there. So that's just a phenomenon that happens on OkEx a lot. I'm not entirely sure why, but my inclination is to think that that's something to do with slippage and the fact that there's low liquidity on that exchange. So anyway, we are below the first level of support now. Okay, so I'm going to put it as orange because there's a possibility that we go above it. However, if we continue to see, this is something that you also I keep forgetting to mention, but when Bitcoin goes down, everything else goes down with it, with very few exceptions. Like today we saw in NEAR, but the great majority of coins will go down with it, especially on the altcoin versus USD chart. Okay, it kind of changes slightly when you look at the altcoin versus Bitcoin or altcoin versus ETH, But on the great majority of the time, you have to remember that I'm doing this technical analysis here on these altcoins, but it really means nothing if Bitcoin's going down. So these levels of support, they get destroyed if Bitcoin decides to pull back, because obviously there's fear in the market and everybody's just selling into support. So that's a phenomenon that can't be helped, but is something that if you pay attention to it, if you're paying attention to Bitcoin, it can help you with your trades. So just keep that in mind, okay? If Bitcoin's dumping and it looks like it's going to dump some more, there's no point in looking for longs. If Bitcoin looks like it's about to curl up and go on a rip, then there's potentially a good time to buy altcoins, okay? So anyway, just going back, we can see that we found a little rejection here on the 2022 standard deviation, the -1. And so the value area low of the 2022 VWAP has acted as resistance now, and now we've gotten below this little level of support. So potentially we could be coming all the way back down to 14 cents. Okay, it remains to be seen. It does look like we found a little bit of support here. So if we find ourselves above this line here, then again this level here is the next level of resistance, and also obviously this standard deviation here, right? This value area low. Alright, so we could potentially just be doing something like this if we reclaim this level here around about 15 cents. If we cannot reclaim 15 cents, then it's a very short trip to 14 cents, but that's where I expect to find support again. And if we break below that, then we'll have to start looking at big round numbers such as 13, 12.50, 12, 11, and so on. Okay? So that's FODL versus USDC. Moving on to FODL FODL versus ETH. So FODL wrapped ETH. And it's very much what we were saying on Wednesday when I did the last technical analysis update. You can see here I've highlighted this is a level of resistance. Resistance here. This is a level of support. And so we are likely to just rotate inside of there. Until proven otherwise, of course. Right? So resistance, support. If we break above this one, then this will be the next range. Okay? If we break below that one, then this will be the next range. But that's not a very good. That's not a very good prospect if we break below this, because as you can see, we've printed a low, and this is a higher low, and we've printed a higher high. So I'd like the price to stay very firmly above this level here, which is around about 44,000 way. Okay, so even if we rotate here, that's fine as long as we don't go below that level there. But I do expect that it's finding resistance now, so I expect that this middle range here is where we're going to be trading next. Okay, break above it and we trade within this range here. If we break below it, then we go here. But obviously that would be all-time lows and a break in market structure. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Let's move on to BNB versus USD. So Binance coin versus US dollar. Let me delete all of these scribbles just to simplify. And okay, so this one is a little bit more complex because of this VWAP. Okay, you can see that the 2022 VWAP had been acting as resistance. We broke above it, confirmed it as support, and now we got stopped at that first standard deviation right here. Right, so potentially we could be coming to this level here as support. Right, so that's around about $413. However, $400 is a big round number, and I do expect that you've got an order block there as well. Okay, so I do expect these two levels to act as support. So if we find ourselves below 412, 400 and 390 should be support. Okay. If we find ourselves below that, then it's a bit of bad news, and we'll be trading inside of this range here. Okay. For now, this is resistance. This here is support. So the range that we're trading in is this one. Okay. Find ourselves below that, and then it's this one here. Okay, if we break down to the downside, then this level here should be the next level of support. But I don't think we're going to see the prices as low as that. It depends on Bitcoin, of course. Like I said, if Bitcoin keeps pulling lower, 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 then it's going to drag everything else down with it. But for now, $450 is resistance, $400 is support on Binance versus USD. I hope that is clear. Moving on to Binance versus BTC. We're very much inside of the range. And you can see here that I've already printed two ranges here. Well, it's a range with a midpoint. Right? So, very clear here. Standard deviation to the downside, we go to the upside. Deviation to the upside, we go to the downside. And it continues to do so with the mid-range acting as a friction point. We did indeed reach these highs. So naturally now we're going to go see what happens at this midpoint here at the equilibrium, which is 9,650 sats. Okay, if we find support here, then obviously this will be the range. If we do not find support there, we continue lower, then this here will be the next level. Okay, so I hope that is clear. I think that, well, I'll just delete the scribbles and start again so that you guys can see what I'm doing. Essentially, this is resistance, this here is support, but the equilibrium, the midpoint, is also something that could disrupt it. Okay, so we either trade inside of this range, or we trade inside of this range. Okay, and you can see here we've got sort of like, it's basically one big range with a halfway point. All right, but either way, that's like 4.6 and that's 4.5, so that's about 10% range. So there's plenty of opportunity to trade in there. Okay, that's, you know, 8.6. All right, so that's basically where we are. We're range bound, and we will continue to be so until proven otherwise. So we can either do something like this, or if we break below it, then we could be doing something like this. Okay, and of course, break above this midpoint, and we go to the up range. Break below, and we go to the middle, to the bottom range again. Okay, so you can treat this whole range here as divide it into as two ranges, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's Binance versus BTC. Binance versus ETH. Okay, so we're testing this level. You know, this is a complex one, but it's actually quite a good exercise to show you what I'm looking at. So, bear with me just 1 second. Just organizing a folder here so that we can take it on and off, put it on and off as we please. Okay, so strictly speaking, just on VWAPs, right, you can see that the price has been ranging above here. We've deviated it to the downside. We've bounced on the 2021 VWAP, which is this line, blue line here, right? We bounced there, and we tried to find acceptance back inside of the standard deviation, the value area low, if you like, of the 2022 VWAP, which is this line here, right? We got a rejection there, and it's a very strong rejection at that. Okay, so naturally what we're going to try and find is if we find support here at this low volume area, or perhaps even this one. Okay, this low volume area also has confluence, or is nearby, of the 2021 VWAP. If we break below this and confirm that this low volume area here is resistance, then we're going to go much lower. However, if we find support here and we start rallying up like that, then the next level of resistance will be this low volume area here, which also happens to be the value area high of the 2022 VWAP. Okay, so now if I put the rectangles on, which is basically balance areas, you can see what I'm talking about here, right? This is a very clear range, the top rectangle, And this here was a very clear range before, as you can see here, right? So this was previous resistance, this was previous support. Once we broke inside it, then this level here, the previous resistance, became support, and this one here became resistance. So essentially we've got two ranges, like that. And again, we're looking at these volume clusters, right? So again, find acceptance here and find a little bounce in this area here around about 13 cents. Sorry, 13 where? 0.13 ETH, right? If we find a bounce here, then we're very likely to go and stay within this range here, right? If we find acceptance below and we confirm that as resistance, then we're very likely to go and test this low range here. So essentially what we're looking at is those rectangles. Okay, so we either trade back inside of here, find that this is resistance and go lower, or we find a bounce right here where we are right now and we go higher. This is the moment of truth, if you like. We're right in the middle of it, so that we're in an imbalanced area here, right? So at this level here, for me, it's a buy, obviously, because we are at the low, we are at support. But if this is indeed a deviation, that's a very good buy, and obviously we might be going all the way up here. However, if we fall back inside, then that's your invalidation. And if we were to put an invalidation, I'd put it below this VWAP here, right? So you can see this is previous level where we found support. So if you are to find a long position, I would put my stop just below those lows there. Okay? So that's a 4-hour trade. If we find acceptance back inside like this, then that becomes a short position. I will put my stops above this previous swing high here, above this little wicks, and I'll be targeting all the way down here. Okay, in fact you could have probably a tighter stop like this. I just think that this low volume area here has potential for being a flip side, you know, flipping support into resistance. So that's what we're looking at for Binance Coin versus ETH. So we're trying to find balance. We find balance inside of the top rectangle, or will we find balance inside of the bottom one? That's what we need to find out. Okay, so looking at AAVE versus US dollar now. So we broke market structure, right? So I'd put all these green lines here as levels of support. And this is a typical example of a coin that is looking very, very bullish. It broke, in terms of technical analysis, it broke everything that was bearish about it is gone. It broke it, okay? This was a previous high. This was a previous high. We broke above that. Printed a higher low. Broke the previous highs again, right? In one big candle, right? This is a huge break in market structure. This looks very, very bullish for AAVE, right? And then we print a low there, higher low. And now we get to resistance at around about $250. And we've just broken market structure and we're basically back below $200. Okay, so again, this is a typical example that it doesn't matter how bullish and how accurate technical analysis is. When it comes to altcoins, it's kind of a little bit worthless, because if Bitcoin's pulling back, it kind of destroys everything in its path, and all these altcoins will not respect technical analysis as a result. Okay, so what we're seeing here, right, let me change that. It's a break in market structure. This level here is acting as support at the moment, but it's being tested. It's been tested a couple of times now. So as you can see, the price came back down. It bounced there. It got as far as this high point here, which was the previous level of support, and it's confirmed that as resistance. So naturally, we're going to test this level here as support. Okay, so this is interim support, but it's likely to break. And if it breaks, we've also got a 2022 VWAP here. If it breaks, I think this will be the next level here. Okay, this now is resistance, and this is definite resistance up here. Okay, so do we just range like this in a very tight range? I doubt it. I think that this will continue down, and the real range will be between these levels here. Okay, if we break below it, then obviously this is the next level of support. If we break above this one, then this carries on being the next level of resistance. Okay, this here, $250, big round number. All right, so I hope that is clear. Resistance, resistance. I'm not trusting too much this level of support, but this one here is largely untapped, so this should be support, and eventually this one here should be support as well. So we either range inside of here, or we range back inside of there, or if we break below it, we could be ranging inside of here. Okay, that's what I'm seeing right now on AAVE versus US dollar. Okay, so we're at $194. We are below the $200 mark. So if we can't get above $200, then I think we're going to go and try and find these levels down here, $160 or something like that. Moving on to AAVE versus BTC, I expect most of the same thing has happened. As you can see here, I was expecting bullish momentum, but we just broke that market structure here. So this was the low, and we just broke below it. Okay, so this previous level of support is now indeed resistance. And even though we bounced on this one here as support, there's a strong possibility that we continue much lower, especially if Bitcoin continues to pull lower as well, right? So this here is a level of resistance around about 4,600 sats. Delete this rectangle not to make things confusing. And the next levels of support will be this level here, right, 4,000 sats, and eventually 3,500 sats if we do find ourselves down here. This is a big area of balance. As you can see, is this rectangle here was an area that when we came in, once we've lost that, we kind of like got back inside, you know, like here. Okay, in fact, this doesn't seem extremely accurate now in terms of balance, so I'm going to delete that rectangle because the dynamic has changed slightly. I'm not really sure that this will act as support anymore, although it's the edge of this high volume cluster. So you see what I'm doing here. I'm just looking at these volume clusters here. You can see that this was previous balance, right? But the price traveled very quickly through there, and it's now trying to confirm it as support. So let's leave it like this. So I don't want to make this a 3-hour long TA update, but basically we've bounced there so far. If the price finds acceptance inside of this line, right, and below this VWAP here of the 2022 VWAP, then the next level of support will be this one, but we will be going all the way to around about 3,500 sats. Okay, that's what I'll be looking for. So basically trading inside of this range. Okay, again looking at volume clusters as areas of balance. If we find acceptance here and we break above it, then that's great. There's a little bit of continuation going on, but I don't think we will, just purely because of this break in market structure. Okay, we've just gotten below it, failed to get back above, so it looks like we're on our way lower. So this was previous resistance, could act as support, as you can see here, right? But essentially this is the previous level of support here. So I think that we see this in the long term. Alright, I hope that makes it clear for you guys. I'm looking at this range here next for AAVE versus BTC. Moving on to AAVE versus ETH. and the bullish momentum is definitely gone. And again, there's a break in market structure. This is the previous low. We just broke below it, confirmed that as resistance. So I'm going to change this yellow line to red. This is indeed now resistance, and we are just at support now, right on the edge of a balance area of a right on the edge of the high volume cluster. So this is a high volume cluster here. You can see it's a weird double distribution actually. It's like it's got this one and then you've got this one here, right? So you could argue that in fact support is a little bit lower, right on the edge of this balance here. Okay, and I'm looking at this low volume area here, right? So if we break below this, no, just bear with me a second. I'll put it like this. Control that. There. Okay. Okay, just a few more areas of support. And obviously we were trying to get acceptance back inside of this range here. We didn't. Okay, so now we're inside of this little cluster here. So potentially what we're seeing is a range inside of there. That's what I want to see. I want to see a range in here, right? If we break below that, this is previous level of resistance, then the next range will be way down here. If we break to the upside, then of course this is going to be resistance, like it's shown so many times, even though it's battered. And that will be the next range. Okay, so we've got potentially 3 ranges, and we are obviously at the on the middle point right now. Okay, so this is support until proven otherwise. This is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, between these two levels. Right, you can see I'm looking at these two levels as a low volume area, so it should act as significant support, but price travels so quickly through there, it could just also just rally straight back down and fall back inside of this range. So you have to be careful with this one. Okay. Moving on to compound versus USD. Okay, so this looks even more bearish. So let's just remove all of the squiggly lines. And you can see here that what's been happening is that we found acceptance inside of the first standard deviation. We went all the way to the +1 standard deviation, and we came all the way back down to the VWAP. We've fallen behind it, or below it if you like, and now we've tested it and confirmed it as resistance. Okay, so I'm going to change that to red. I'm going to bring it a little bit lower, and that is indeed resistance now. And the next level of support will be where these sellers here got trapped, that red candle there. Okay, so I do expect the price to just be traveling inside of that range. Okay, break above it, and of course this will be the next range here. And if you break below it, I think these two levels here, I'm not too keen on those. As you can see, they haven't been respected, so I'm just going to delete them. I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And I do think that this level here, this range here, will be the next level. Okay, so you can see that acted as previous support, and that was previous resistance. Okay, so are we going to trade back inside of this range here? We're going to trade inside of this one and fill out this low volume area here, right? Or do we break above it and start trading on the level above? That's, on the higher time frames, on the weekly or whatever, you'd probably see this whole thing as one range, but you can split it into the 3 different distributions on the daily chart, and it's very clear to see that there. Okay, what's clear as well is that this level here is definitely not support anymore. It's now resistance. Okay, so resistance. This here should act as support, and so should this level here. Moving on to compound versus BTC. In fact, that's compound versus USD. Let's have a look at the, so yeah, 168 as resistance, 143 as resistance, 125, and then $100 as support. Okay, so that would explain why these levels down here were respected as support so many times. Okay, $125, a decent round number, so this could potentially be a strong level of support. Moving on to compound versus compound versus BTC. I'm going to remove the squiggles. Going to put all that inside a folder so I can just mute, take everything off. Right, so this was resistance, this was support. You can see there was a little deviation. We got stopped at the halfway point at equilibrium here. We came back down, we found a big sell order right at support, and the price just rallied, and it rallied and it broke market structure. It took out these highs and broke above previous resistance. In fact, it took out these highs as well. Okay, so this looks very bullish. However, we've had a pullback and a break in market structure because this is the previous lows. And now it's confirming that that is indeed support turned to resistance. Is that clear? You can see that that was previous support. Price rallied from there, came back down, and now we broke below it. And this level here, which was supposed to be support, is now acting as resistance. So, are we going to just range here, just above this previous range? Or are we going to find ourselves back inside of this range? If we find ourselves back inside of this range, this is quite simply a good area here to go short, to be honest, okay? Because we go to at least this level here. But potentially, we could break back inside, confirm this is indeed resistance now, this low volume area here, and then start trading inside of here. Okay, or potentially go all the way to the other side of it. Okay, so let me just simplify that with some SR lines. You can see this is very difficult to trade this as one profile because it's obviously like 3 distributions there, right? So let me just adjust this slightly. In fact, let me put this line above here. I'm going to put this line here. No, I'm not. I'm going to put this one as control. I'm going to put it down here. Okay, so level of support here. Level of support at the halfway point, equilibrium. Right? If we break below any of that, then there's trapped bears here at this level, so this could potentially be also a level of support. That's why I put a dotted line there. But if we find ourselves back inside of this range, then I think we just trade inside of the range again, quite simply, okay, on the higher time frames. But here on the daily, you can see that you can actually split these distributions into 3 different distributions here. So it remains to be seen if this level here now should be resistance, right? That's the VWAP. So even though we broke market structure, we could break it all the way to the upside, go here, find resistance, and then fall back inside of here, right? So essentially, just ranging inside of there. Okay, I hope I haven't made that a little bit more complicated than what it should be. But range here, break above it, this is the next level of resistance. Break below it, this is the next level of support. Okay, break below this one, then obviously this one here, and this one here is the next levels of support. This is all-time lows, and this here is resistance, and I don't think we're going to break that, not unless Bitcoin has a rally. Okay, so that's compound versus BTC. Compound versus ETH, very much the same story, I believe. The story of the ranges, impulse range, impulse range. So we had a low here, broke to the highs, that's our resistance there, broke below that market structure now, confirmed this as resistance. So now we're on our way down, right? So this is the next level of support, This is the next level of support. I'm going to change this from green to red because it should now be resistance. Okay, it could potentially, I mean, this is a low volume area, it's a previous level of resistance, so it could even go as far as these levels again, but I don't think it will because this is a break in market structure. So if anything, it might just do this, spike to the upside and then fall back inside. Okay, so you just have to keep that in mind. But yeah, I just expect now the price to be traveling inside of here like this. Okay, break below it, then we're looking at this level here as support, break above it, and this is the next level of resistance. Okay, so it'll either be trading like this or we'll be trading inside of there. That's what I'm seeing on Compound versus ETH. Let's move on to BAT versus USD because this is becoming a very long technical analysis update now. And let's delete all of these scribbles. So, first thing I can see is that this level here, which is supposed to be support, has already been broken. Fear in the market has just made it happen. So, you can see that this is a previous range here. It's a bit of a weird distribution as we've got a little divot in the middle there. But nevertheless, this is a whole distribution here. And in fact, if I'm not... Yeah, no, that's about right. I'll put it around about there actually, on the edge of the previous balance. We are kind of in a low volume area there. But I'm not, do you know what, I'm going to delete that level. I'm not too keen on that one because the price just traveled twice through it. So what we're looking here, this blue line is the 2021 VWAP, and you can see that the price has just gotten below it. Well, so in fact, when we broke above it, we confirmed this as support and we rallied from there. Okay, we went all the way to 96, 97 cents. Now we've fallen below, we broke that market structure here, which was supposed to be support, and we're confirming this indeed as resistance. So this is a good opportunity for a short, and I'll be taking profits around about here, which is the first standard deviation, but ultimately I'll be targeting this level down here, around about 62 cents, okay, which is the edge of the high volume cluster that we were looking at before. Okay, so this is on its way down. Even if it does this, I think this is the ultimate destination. But, you know, ultimately we could be ranging inside of this as a big range, but on a short time frames, this here should be a level of resistance. Like that. Okay, that's the 2021 VWAP. Right, that's really clear in terms of support resistance. Okay, broke above it, confirmed this as support, rallied, came back down. Now we got below that level of support, flipped it to resistance because now we can't get above this. So as long as we are below this line, our target is this one and this one here. So we could be doing something like this until we break to either side. If we break below it, then obviously this is the next level here. Okay. Break above it, then of course that's a change again in market structure, but this here should be a very strong level of resistance. As you can see, it's a low volume area and just on the edge of $1 for BAT. So I don't expect the price to get above that, but you can see here this is a range, right? So overall that's the range there. Okay, so let's just wait and see what happens. So for now, resistance is around about 80 cents. And support should be around about 62 cents and potentially 50 cents. Moving on to BAT versus BTC. Delete some of these lines. Okay, we're struggling to get above this first standard deviation. This is indeed resistance. Okay, but this level here should be strong support. As you can see, that's the 2021 VWAP. And it's also the edge of a high volume cluster, I believe. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to reduce this a little bit lower. As you can see here, that's where the low volume node is, so it's just below the 2021 VWAP there. So again, what do I expect price to do? We're finding a little bit of resistance here right now, so I think we probably go lower first, but on the long run I think we see something like this inside of this balance area here. Okay, till we break to either side. Break to the downside, this is support. Break to the upside, this is resistance. BAT versus ETH, and so we are below that level of resistance. We're not ranging above there as we were before, so now we're looking for balance down here. So again, what we expect is just a price to be balancing inside of here. Okay, as you can see, there's actually just the edge of a high volume cluster there. So yeah, I think I'm going to change that slightly, and I'll explain why. Yeah, so you can see here, I'm looking at this high volume node here, and when you put it all together, you can see that this is the edge of the high volume cluster. In fact, you can argue that this one here is. Okay, but there's a big ledge in volume there, and it also has confluence with this previous 2021 VWAP value area low. So I do expect the price to find a little bit of support here. So I think that this here is the real range to trade. Okay, so between 2000 0.0002 thousand Ethereum, or 2364 way, 2450 actually. So 2500 is 2500 is resistance, 2000 is support. Okay, I think that's the level that you want to be looking for right now, right? This range here, resistance, support. Break above it and we start trading above here. Break below it and we start trading inside of here. Link versus USD. Okay, so this is the next level of support. This is the next level of resistance. You can see that we came all the way up. This is blue line is the 2022 VWAP. We found resistance there. Perfect confluence with that low volume area here, this resistance level here, red. And we broke straight below this, which is supposed to act as support for support of market structure. So we broke below market structure. So even if we get a little rally up to here, that should now act as resistance because it didn't act as support. But this level here should act as support. So I expect the price to just be ranging here. Break below that, and I think this potentially could be a level of support. But overall, yeah, this is a high volume cluster here. So overall, I do think that this is the more important level here. Okay, so let me just clean this up a little bit. We got a little bit overexcited. We thought that the bull run was coming. So I'm going to delete some of these levels just to make it a little bit more sense. Okay, so for now, I think it's clear. We are ranging between support and resistance. So we're doing something like this. Okay, break above it, this is the next level of resistance. Break below it, this is the next level of support. However, that's just the first standard deviation, the -1, if you like, or the value area low of the 2022 VWAP. If we do not bounce there, this is an important level of support, around about $11.50. Okay, so $13 and $15 as support. Resistance is $16.50 and $18.20, and potentially, if we break above, then $20 is a significant level of resistance. But like I said, everything's going down with Bitcoin, so at the moment, all of these altcoins will be going down, so it's time to buy cheap again. Okay, so typical example of what happens at a first standard deviation, right? We broke below it, and now we cannot find ourselves back inside it again. So it's getting rejected. Naturally, if it's getting rejected, the next level to look for is this level down here. So we're going to be ranging like this now. Okay, break below that, this is the next level of support, and this one here I suspect is a very important level of support as well. If we break above it, then this here is a next level of resistance, and we've also got the view up here, right? But I don't see us breaking out of this range just yet. Okay, so if I was to be a little bit picky and look at this from a zoomed out view, it's very clear that sellers are stepping up here, right? Sellers and buyers are stepping up here. So overall, the range is this. Okay, of course there are like little deviations. And in fact, I'm going to put this just here. Okay, and yeah, that's basically it. I think that, you know, at the moment it looks like we're going to go down, and we're going to try the lower levels here, around about 3,300 sats. Okay, and at this level we should find support and then just range sideways. Okay, I don't know if we're going to range the whole wide thing like we did here. I think this could potentially be two different ranges. Okay, so moving on to Link versus ETH, and there we are. That for me is the confirmation for the short. So let's just recap on what we were doing last week. Quite simply, last week we were looking at, on the smaller time frames, we were ranging just above this balance area. This is why it's in a different color. It's a balance area, and I said that even if we come below and then accept back inside, it's going to go to the next level of resistance. This is support until proven otherwise. Any raid below is a deviation, and we go and test resistance. We've started to find resistance further and further down at this standard deviation of the view app, right? And as soon as we start getting acceptance back inside of this range, I said, okay, well, this level here is the last level of support. Well, that was indeed the last level of support. Once we got below it, now we're on our way down. So now this is the line in the sand, and this is resistance until proven otherwise. Okay, and in fact I'm going to find this one here. I'm going to put it on the edge of that. I'm just going to put it there actually. And for some unbeknown reason, we've got a little bit of a bounce there. So this could be one of two things. Let's have a look at the daily chart and figure out why. You can see what the balance is now. It's this range here, right? So I'm not sure why we bounced there. Previous resistance then turned to support. Okay, so let's just grab a line there. And now let's look at the 6-hour chart to make it a little bit closer. Trying to do a thorough update because obviously I'm not going to be here for a while. I'll put the timestamps in and you guys can do your evaluation and also get to learn how I trade and how I look at levels and why. So this level here is previous level of support. Okay, so potentially now what I see is this traveling the whole side of the balance area. Okay, quite simply. However, we've got this level here as support and this level here as support. Okay, so if we find ourselves bouncing here, then this will be the range. If we do not bounce here and we lose this level, then this is the next level of support, and this is a huge range to be trading here. But I think the odds are on now that are on your side for a short position. So even if Bitcoin rallies a little bit, I doubt very much that this will find acceptance back above this range. Okay, so I put my stop above there, around about 5,150 way. This could be the entry level here. The first level of resistance is the entry for the short, and then I'll be taking profits here, but ultimately the target would be there and perhaps even lower. Okay, this is a massive trade. So make of that what you will. Link versus ETH. Link looking very weak compared to ETH. Moving on to Uniswap. Uniswap versus USD. Let's move on to the daily chart here. So we found resistance at the VWAP, and I did say that this level here should act as support. However, it does look like we've failed it now, right? If I was to move it like this, or do we do this? Was this a previous level of resistance and now turn to support? Okay, so let's just go with what's happened most recently. Okay, for now it does look like this order block here acted as support, right? So that's a break in market structure. These were lows. We've just taken out all of those lows in one go. Okay, so if we continue to find resistance here, just delete that line again. So we either find this range here. If we break above it, this is resistance. You can see that this is the yearly VWAP as well. If, however, we break below, then we could be trading inside of this range here. Break below that, and then this will turn to resistance instead of support, and this will be the next level, which is basically what this range here is supposed to be. So essentially 4 ranges altogether, right? Big range here, the current range, which is this one here. Break above that, we go to the next one above. This is all getting a little bit confusing, isn't it? Messy and confusing. Just start again. Range A. This is the current range that we're in right now. If we break below it, this is another range. And if we break above it, this is the next range. Okay? Either way, if you look at this on the smaller time frames, you can see that there's actually, that's a 6% range, okay? So you could just be trading, this could be just going sideways here for now. Just doing this on the 1 hour time frame. You could be trading this and obviously sell at the top, buy at the bottom, right? So just have to wait and see, and just depends on how you're playing this. But right now, in terms of market structure and on the higher time frames, this was previous resistance. We broke above it, confirmed it as support, rallied, and now we're back below it again. And typically, the previous level of support is now resistance. Okay, so I think we're doomed to try take this level here again. Okay, I think that's where we're going, even if we take these highs again. All right, so even if we come all the way up here again, I think that eventually what we're going to be doing is going all the way down there again. So shorts galore for Uni versus USD, and obviously that's a big level. That's $10, right? And I'll be looking at $8 for support. $10 resistance, $8 support. Uni versus BTC. That's resistance. Quite clearly that's support. We're trading inside of the rectangle. Okay, so we just range like this until proven otherwise. If we break below it, then this is the next level of support. If we break below this one, if we break above it, then this is the next level of resistance with this yearly VWAP there as well. So this could be just like a jagged one like that. Okay, but for now I do think that we're just kind of range playing. Okay, and again, like I said on the previous one, you can just play this range for as long as you want. Okay, this is actually on a daily chart, so this is a massive range. This is like a 15% range. Okay, with some leverage, then you're, you know, doing really well with this. Support here, resistance there. Okay, break inside it like this and test this, confirm it that that's resistance now, then I think we're going to go much lower. But for the time being, this level here is support. We're targeting this as resistance. Okay, so doing this. That's UNI versus BTC. UNI versus ETH, finally. Wow, we broke. This is a typical example as well of breaking in and out of ranges. Okay, so again, we were playing inside the range here. We got stopped at the equilibrium. You can see how important that is, the halfway mark, right? So one big range divided into two, right? That's what I've been saying. Usually we kind of trade like this, or we trade like this. Overall, it's one big range, but the halfway mark or the equilibrium also has significance. Here, we broke below the range low. We tried to take it again, to fall back in, and you can see here this is the first standard deviation of this VWAP, and that's confluence enough to get rejected there. So next level of support is this one, and this range is now null and void. So let's just delete these lines. So are we at all-time lows again? Yes, we are. All-time lows for UNI versus ETH. So this is the next level of resistance. This here should be the next level of support. And why is that a level of support if there's no previous price action? Because it's a big round number there. Okay, as you can see, 300 way, right? So you have to look at 250, 200 way for the next levels of support. And that's all you've got, because this is obviously price discovery. So right now I expect the price to do something like this. But this is resistance until proven otherwise. If we break below it, again, you look at other levels such as 250. That could perhaps be the next level of support. And then you'll be looking between 250 and 300 as the next range, hopefully. Okay, but that's all we can see right now on UNI versus ETH. So anyway, I hope this was useful to you guys. I'm sorry it's such a long TA update, but Bitcoin is trying to go up. I do expect this to be here resistance, like I said. This level here, right about 44k, 44,400 to be resistance. If we break above it, then 45k is really the ultimate level, the line in the sand, if you like, between the bulls and the bears. All right, so this is resistance until proven otherwise, and I do think that this is a good entry for a short, targeting these levels down here. If we go even further up and take out the stops, then this is the level for a short, and again we'll be targeting all these prices down here, $44,000 or $40,000. Okay, I hope it was useful. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you back on the 20th. I'm going away for a week with the family. Yeah, trade smart, and I look forward to coming back and cracking on and speaking to you guys soon. Okay, in the meantime, pay attention to what Boas and the other guys are posting in the group in terms of technical analysis, and if you need to ask any questions, do ask, and everybody's more than happy to help. There's no such thing as a silly question. So in the meantime, have fun and trade smart. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.